Hello, everyone. This is John Withers, a third grade teacher. I get the pleasure of reading chapters 3 and 4 with you today. And let's go ahead and get started and see what's going on with Hank today. At lunch, I sat at the table and stared at my vegetarian bologna sandwich. Most of the other kids were waiting in the hot food line. It was either macaroni and cheese day or tuna melt day, or maybe it was both. I couldn't tell without looking at the menu because all the cafeteria food smells the same. I looked around the lunchroom and spotted Frankie. He had just bought a milk and was laughing and talking with Kate Sperling and Kim Paulson, only the two most beautiful girls in the entire school. When Frankie smiles, he gets a huge dimple in his cheek. As he walked, he kept flashing the girls the big dimple. And man, was it working. They were following him to our table. I couldn't believe it. Kate Sperling and Kim Paulson were going to sit down with us. That is, until Robert Upchurch cut in front of them and took the seat right across from me. "Hey, Hank, mind if I sit here?" he asked. "Yes," I answered, but it was too late. When Kate and Kim saw Robert, they swerved left, or at least I think it was left. Maybe it was right. It was hard for me to keep track of the directions. Anyway, they went down a totally different aisle and sat down with Ryan Shimazatato and his friends. Robert isn't exactly a girl magnet. He has a neck the size of a pencil and always wears a starchy white shirt with a tie. That's right, I said, a tie. And to add the fact that he's the most boring person on the planet, and you can't blame the girls for picking another table. Frankie flopped down next to me. "Thanks, Robert," he said. "Nice work." "What'd I do?" Robert asked. Poor kid. He really didn't have a clue. Robert just started third grade. Since the third graders and fourth graders at my school ate lunch together, this was the first day he'd gotten the chance to sit with us. We don't really want him hanging around with us, but he lives in the same apartment building as Frankie and Ashley and me, so he thinks he has the right to tag along everywhere. Frankie glanced at my sandwich and made a face. He's been making faces at my lunches ever since we were in preschool. "I see your mom's at it again," he said. "What's she calling this? Soy surprise?" "It's bologna," I told him. "Bologna and I go way back," said Frankie, "and this is no bologna." I don't know if you've had vegetarian bologna before, but I don't think you've ever had my mom's vegetarian bologna. She thinks she invented it, which proves she should keep her thoughts to herself. My mom's vegetarian bologna tastes nothing like nothing you've ever put in your mouth. Let's just say it's round, ground, pinkish, leaves of grass. Let's just say it's non-food. Ever since my mother took over Papa Pete's Deli, she's been experimenting like crazy with food. Unfortunately for me, my lunch is her laboratory. Vegetarian bologna is only one of her experiments. You haven't lived until you've tried her soy salami. Papa Pete says it's a crime what she does to salami. By the way, Papa Pete is my grandpa. He's the best. Sometimes he gets the feeling that he's the only person who understands me. Or sometimes I get that feeling, I should say. He never, ever thinks I'm stupid or lazy. Actually, bologna is a very interesting word, Robert said through a mouthful of macaroni and cheese. Frankie and I looked at each other. You know how when you have a best friend and the other person often think the same thing at the same time? We were both thinking, somebody get me out of this conversation. What's especially interesting is that bologna contains a silent G, just like the silent K in knock and night, Robert went on. Robert knows everything. That's why he skipped second grade. I think it's great to know a lot of things. I just don't think you have to say them all the time. Like Robert will name all the James Bond movies in order, including the year that they came out, even though no one ever even asks him. And don't even get him started on world capitals. He'll tell you the capital of Indonesia right in the middle of a dodgeball game. The other day, he just looked at me and said, "The human body has enough iron to make one nail." He said it like it was a total normal thing to say. Robert said, "Why don't you just go and sit with the third graders?" "They're not interested in what I have to say," he said. "We're not interested either," I said. "Why not?" he answered. "Spelling is a very challenging subject." "Challenging," I said. That's the understatement of the century. I can't spell to save my life, and it really bothers me too. "I can't imagine not being able to spell," Robert said. "Doesn't it make you feel stupid?" "Robert, will you zip a break?" said Frankie. giving him a noogie on his head. Can't you see he's a troubled man? What's wrong with you? Robert asked. Miss Adolph is making us write an entire 5-paragraph essay, I answered. Neatness counts. Punctuation counts. Everything counts. Do you realize how impossible that is? Just then, Ashley slid onto the bench next to me, and she put her tray down. She had chosen both macaroni cheese and the tuna melt. Ashley likes variety in everything. You should see her clothes. She covers them all in rhinestones, even her sneakers. She's got one pair with a family of dolphins swimming in the ocean in blue and green rhinestone. She glues them all over to herself. What's impossible? Asked Ashley. Spelling, I said. Oh, spelling is hard, she agreed. But this is impossible. She picked up a cherry that was sitting on top of her fruit salad. She plopped it in her mouth, and she ate it. Then her face got all kind of twisted up and busy, kind of like a chipmunk shelling an acorn. In no time, she stuck her tongue out, and there was a cherry stem tied in a perfect knot. Is Ashley Wong an amazing girl or what? Ashwina. That is so cool, said Frankie. Frankie has a nickname for everyone. He even calls my dad Mr. Z. No one else I know even talks to my father. Does nobody care about my problem, I said. Is nobody even listening to me, or is anybody listening to me? My friend stopped eating and looked at me. How am I going to write 5 perfect paragraphs by next Monday when I can't get what I'm thinking down on a paper? I said. My handwriting looks like a chicken strap. A chicken stepped on tar and ran across the page. If a chicken stepped in tar, it would get stuck and couldn't run anywhere, Robert pointed out. Shut up, Robert, we all said together. I put commas in the wrong places, I continued. My capital letters, well, they look weird. My lowercase letters even look weirder. My spelling, well, we all know about my spelling. Take a deep breath, Zip, said Frankie. We'll figure it out. Hey, make friends with the dictionary. Let your fingers do the walking, if you know what I'm talking about. Frankie is really good at school. He thinks math is easy, and, get this, he reads for fun. I wish I could do that. I wish it was easier for me to read a book. You sound just like my father, I said. He's always telling me to look up words in the dictionary. Suddenly, Frankie grabbed his chest and fell to the ground, flopping around like he was some kind of alien. He's cool enough to be able to do something like that in the lunchroom. Even Kate Spurley and Kim Paulson were laughing. Not at him either, but with him. That's Hertz, he screamed, comparing me to Silent Stan, the crossword puzzle man. That's another one of Frankie's nicknames for my dad. Frankie got up and sat back down at the table. Someone please, what's a 4-letter word for a root vegetable? He said, doing his perfect imitation of my father working a crossword puzzle. We all cracked up. Milk actually came shooting out of Ashley's nose. It spewed all over her t-shirt, spraying the rhinestone self-portrait she had done. Drops of milk hung off of the purple stones that she had used for the frames of her glasses. Does anyone have a napkin? Ashley asked. Here, take mine, I told her. My sandwich is never going to make it to my mouth anyways. Frankie climbed back onto the bench. Oops, 2 pages stuck together. 1 second here. Don't tell me the flavor, he said. Don't ever tell me that I sound like your... No, don't ever tell me I sound like your father again. Then don't bring up the dictionary again, I said. It's such a useless invention. At least it is for me. Don't tell me that Miss Adolph. Don't tell that to Miss Adolph, said Ashley. She's in love with dictionaries. They don't make any sense, I said. I can't spell words because I can't sound them out. So how am I going to find them in a dictionary if I can't spell them in the first place? Do you know how my dictionary has 1,256 pages? Words get lost in there. Zip, you're forgetting to breathe. I know, Frankie. I'm breathing. Frankie put his hand on my shoulder. Look, it's just an essay, my man. Well, maybe for you, I said. For me, it's just nothing but torture. Frankie reached into his lunch bag, and he pulled out a package of ding-dongs. He took one for himself, and he gave one to me. Listen up, Zip, he said. We're supposed to write about what we did on our summer vacation, right? So just write about what happened to you. You had an awesome summer vacation going to Canada and to Niagara Falls and getting to steer the boat all by yourself when the captain fell overboard. Man, that's cool stuff. Ashley nearly gagged on her second cherry stem. That's not what you told me, she said. You told me that your sister got seasick and barfed all over your plastic raincoat. Okay. So sometimes I kind of tell stories. But they're not lies or anything. I just think, I just, it's just that I think that the world needs to be entertained. I happen to be good at it. Like my Papa Pete says, if you got it, flaunt it. Flaunt. There's another word I can't spell. Suddenly, out of nowhere, came a hand bigger than the average hand, bigger than a tabletop. Then a head the size of Rhode Island appeared. Next came the smell of bad, bad breath. The kind that makes the gel in your hair kind of lose its hold. That ding dong's mine, Nick McKelty said as he smashed what was once my chocolate cake into his oversized mouth. I love these things. Robert dove for cover under the table. Ashley shot milk out again. Be my guest, I said. It was either that or have Nick the Tick pound my skull with his knuckles. Nick thinks that because he is the biggest guy in fourth grade, everybody's lunch is his personal meal. We are his menu, and he takes whatever he wants. Nick was looking for a second course. My instincts told me that he was going to head straight for Ashley's tuna melt. Nick, I said, yelling to catch his attention, you don't want to eat that. Like you're going to stop me, he said, flashing his stupid grin. The ding-dong chocolate was wedged between the gap in his teeth, so it looked like he had 3 front teeth. Did you hear about the tuna they just caught off Cape Cod and ate the license plate from a car from Ohio? I said, thinking fast. There's so much metal ground up inside him, by the time he got to the store, he didn't even need a can. I pointed to Ashley's sandwich. That's him, right in there. You could almost hear the wheels, the small wheels, grinding inside his huge blonde head. I didn't want that pathetic sandwich anyways, he said. I've got to save my appetite for the Knicks game tonight. My dad's got tickets right next to the players' bench. Nick's father owns the bowling alley in our neighborhood, McKelty's Roll and Bowl. Maybe that's why Nick the Tick thinks he has the right to act like a big shot all the time. All he does is brag, and none of it is ever true. Okay, like I said before, I tell stories, sometimes too. But let's get one thing straight. My stories are for pure entertainment purposes. Nick's stories are to make him seem cool, which he's not, I might add. Like he says, his father has the best seats for every sporting event in the United States of America. The truth is, mostly they watch the games on TV at the bowling alley. That's what we call the McKelty factory. Truth times 100. In any case, Nick walked away. Ashley smiled. Thanks, Hank, she said. I felt proud. I had saved her lunch. You're amazing, Zip, Frankie said. You have so much trouble with so many things, but never with your mouth. It's a brilliant mouth. I thought about it. If my brilliant mouth worked on Nick McKelty, why couldn't it work on Miss Adolph? I took out a piece of paper and a pencil, and I had a plan. Chapter 4. Before lunch ended, I decided to find Miss Adolph and have a little chat. She was sitting at her desk, finishing her lunch. 2 big napkins covered most of her. Just her shoes were showing they were gray. She was eating a banana that was so brown you couldn't even tell if it ever had been yellow. May I talk with you for a minute, Miss Adolph? I asked from the doorway. She waved me inside. Well, I've been thinking a lot about my essay, I began. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Henry, she said. What I've been thinking about exactly is that it would be really benefit you if I didn't write this essay. Is that so, she said. She tossed the banana peel into the wastebasket. In fact, I spent a good part of my lunch period writing down a list of 10 really excellent reasons why I shouldn't write this essay. I pulled out the piece of paper from my back pocket and I flattened it out on her desk with the palm of my hand. There was big greasy smudge though on it, and it really, really smelled like tuna fish. I have to admit, it was pretty disgusting. Sorry, I said as I was trying to rub it off. It was tuna melt day. Just pretend it's a scratch and sniff. She smiled. I smiled. Miss Adolph didn't. That wasn't a good start, but I had to think positively. I stood very quietly while she read the list. 10 reasons why Hank Zipzer should not write a 5-paragraph essay on what I did this summer. 1. Every pen I own runs out of ink. 2. My thoughts are controlled by alien beings who makes me write in strange language. 3. We couldn't go anywhere over the summer because my dog had a nervous breakdown. 4. I'm highly allergic to lined paper. 5. When I write, my fingers stick together. 6. If I sit too long, my butt falls asleep and snores, which keeps my sister awake. 7. Every time I write an essay, my dog, Cheerio, eats it for breakfast before I can get to school, so why try? 8. My computer keyboard is missing 12 letters, V, C, T, S, M, and all the vowels, including Y and W. 9. Nothing. 10. Nothing. The last 2 reasons were on the tip of my mind, but I just couldn't think of them to the tip of my pencil. Miss Adolph put down the list and looked up at me. This is very creative, she said. Creative? Creative is good. My plan was working. I hope you'll use some of the creativity, though, in your essay, she went on. I leaned forward. I look forward to hearing you read your written words on Monday morning. Then she took my list, crumbled it up, and tossed it in the wastebasket. There was my creativity, I thought, stuck on to the top of the brown banana peel. Wow. Frank is having a few little issues there. Hopefully he'll do a great job getting the essay when he has to get it done. Hope you guys have a blessed day, and I will hopefully see you in school sometime.